Book 10 of the Odyssey contains a harbour. Homer describes it carefully: a deep fjord, sheer cliffs on every side, a single narrow entrance, perfectly calm water inside, whatever the sea happens to be doing outside. The description is specific enough that classical scholars have spent considerable energy matching it to real locations on the Italian coast. What matters is not which harbour Homer had in mind, but what kind of harbour he's describing. A harbour of perfect proportions, offering perfect shelter, asking nothing of you except that you sail in. Odysseus arrives here with 6 ships after 6 days of rowing without wind. The crews are exhausted. 5 of his 6 ships sail into the harbour and moor alongside the far shore. The water inside is perfectly calm. Odysseus ties his ship outside, at the cliff's edge. He climbs to a high point to look around before committing to the anchorage. This is not a decision Homer explains or praises. He simply records it. Odysseus has not seen what is inland. He hasn't reasoned his way to any conclusion. He's merely declined for the moment to enter a space he does not yet know. What he finds when he looks: smoke rising from inland. He sends 3 men to investigate. They follow a road, meet a girl at a spring, and are taken to her father's house. Her father is enormous. Homer says this without mythological elaboration. No divine parentage, no symbolic eye, simply enormous in the way that mountains are enormous. And he immediately seizes one of the scouts and eats him. The other 2 run. By the time they reach the harbour entrance, the Laestrygonians are on the cliffs. They begin throwing rocks. The rocks break the ships apart. Then they take up the implements used for harvesting fish. Homer's word is the technical term used for fish spearing. And they take the men out of the water the same way. And they carry them away. Homer gives this 40 lines, and then he moves on. Every dangerous encounter in the wanderings before this one has been survivable by intelligence. Polyphemus yields to Metis, the Lotus Eaters yield to an act of will. There is always a problem to which Odysseus's particular quality of mind is the appropriate answer. The Laestrygonians are not that. There's no problem to solve. There's a beautiful harbour, men who are exhausted enough to find it irresistible, and boulders falling from cliff tops. The men who die are not less intelligent than Odysseus, not less brave, not less worthy. They are inside when the catastrophe arrives, and he is outside, and the catastrophe doesn't distinguish between them and the rocks it shatters. This is the only episode in the Wanderings where the universe is simply indifferent, not hostile in the way Poseidon is hostile, not seductive in the way Circe is seductive, not a puzzle to be solved or a temptation to be refused. It simply happens. 11 ships worth of men who have already survived Troy, and the storm from Zeus, and Polyphemus, are harpooned in a fjord on a calm afternoon because a harbour was perfect and they were tired. And yet Odysseus is outside, not because he reasoned his way there, not because a god warned him, because his particular quality of mind, the one that will eventually outwit 108 suitors in his own hall, cannot quite commit to a space before it has been looked around. That instinct, operating at its most minimal, producing nothing heroic, no victory, no stratagem, just the bare act of tying up outside and climbing a rock. That is the margin between his name surviving to the end of the poem and not. Homer does not celebrate this, he records it. The question he leaves open and doesn't answer is whether what saved Odysseus here was wisdom or luck, and whether at a certain threshold of catastrophe the distinction between the two means anything at all. Next week the single ship reaches an island. 12 men go into a cave. A boulder rolls across the entrance. The creature who lives inside is not indifferent. He's hungry and present, and there is a very specific problem to solve. For the first time since the harbour of What he does with it is the most technically accomplished improvisation in the poem, and what it costs him at the end is the most instructive single failure. I'll see you next Thursday.